Hey guys, so today is a really exciting day. We are finally moving compost into the garden beds that we're building in our neighbor's backyard. We decided to build these garden beds in our neighbor's backyard after a chance encounter last summer at the end of our vacation. We had come home and we were walking around in our garden and we heard some voices on the other side of the fence, and it turned out they were our new neighbors. Their names are Crystal and Ryan. They're awesome people, and they were commenting that they admired our garden and they really wanted to have a garden space but didn't really know what to do or how to get started. And I had told them that there were some techniques that I really wanted to try out. One of them is called Back to Eden gardening, that I'd done a lot of reading and research about it, but I just didn't have the space. I didn't have the space to build those types of beds. And so we decided that I would help them build a garden space in their backyard. And we decided that we could share in the learning process together and, of course, share some of the rewards, which is harvesting awesome food. So today we are bringing the compost in. Thought I would take you guys along with me to see that process get started.
Okay, so here we have our first truckload of compost, and this is our garden beds. See there, we're wetting down some cardboard that we've broken up and layered over each other, making sure there aren't any major gaps so that weeds can't poke through. And that's my son Connor. He's the one that's been watering all of this down. Just wanted to show you another point of view of the garden beds. All of our tools all stacked up, and we're ready to get loaded up. And now you can see that we've actually filled the beds and we're getting the compost watered in really well. So we have about 3 feet of compost on each side and 3 feet in the back, and then a nice layer of mulch for a walking path down the center. Very exciting stuff. So here at the front of the beds, the depth is obviously a lot deeper because there was such a slope here, but at the back we made sure that we got at least 6 inches of compost. I'd say probably closer to 8 to 10 inches of compost back there, and then it kind of gets deeper as we go further back into the bed. Okay, so you can see here everything's been topped off with another layer of mulch that goes over the compost after it's been wetted. That will just hold all of that moisture in for our new little baby plants. So before we actually put the plants in, I thought it'd be cool to show you guys what this area looked like before we actually built the beds in. These pictures were taken last fall. This is the area where there were some really gnarly large bushes, and our neighbors pulled up those rocks that you see there in the front and then connected their truck to it and ripped them all out. And this is what would be the future site of our new garden beds. Okay, so now they are all gone and we are ready to start working on getting the walls built. Also realize there's some holes in the fences that we need to fix up. But we are, just gathering materials as we can and replacing what we can as we go. So this is after our first day. Hogan worked really hard getting that first wall built up for us. And this is the second week. The neighbors put some work in. See, those fence boards are replaced now. And everything's looking really good. And you can see we started to paint the fence just with some salvaged paint that we had, fixed the holes in the boards. Everything's coming along. And I believe the next thing that you'll see is actually once the walls have been completely finished and we're ready to put in the compost.
So basically what we ended up doing was we collected rocks from this area over here, and we built up these walls along the sides. We backfilled in with compost underneath and then heavily mulched it. So these are kind of like a modified Back to Eden garden bed. So it's cardboard on the ground, wetted that, compost, wetted that, and then mulch on top of that. This is our first load of plants that we're going to be putting in today. These were all started from seed. I did pick up a couple of plants from our local garden center. Haven't had much luck starting eggplant on my own, so I figured that I would just leave that to the professionals. The beds are 8 feet wide and it's 20 feet from front to back, so we're definitely going to be increasing our planting space a lot. So this is our amazing neighbor, Crystal. So she is amazing and decided to partner with us on this project. We're really, really excited about it. We're gonna be working together a lot. She has never had a garden?
Never had a garden.
She's never had a garden, so she's been asking lots of awesome questions and is interested in the planting process, which I normally do all by myself, so I'm really excited to have some help, and we're gonna get started today. We have already placed all of the plants in the beds where we want them, and this is a little tip that I wanted to share with you. If you're new to gardening, or you're like me where you get really excited, you take the plants outside and you just start putting everything in the ground, you kind of forget about the spacing, and before you know it, like everything's really close together, or you put plants in places that you didn't actually want them. So my recommendation number one is to take all your plants outside, kind of line them out, take a step back, look at it. Are you good with it? Does this plant look a little too close to that one? Spread everything out. The second tip I wanted to give you is to not rely on plant labels or memory when you're planting your garden. I have children. My youngest is about to be 13, so it's not as much of a problem anymore, but when he was little, one of his favorite things was to go out to the garden and pluck the little plant labels out of the garden. So I didn't know what I was growing there, and it's frustrating when you're waiting to see fruit to determine what type of plant it actually is. As you become a more experienced gardener, you'll be able to obviously tell the difference between a tomato and a pepper, but telling the difference between black beauty squash and a yellow squash when it's small is very difficult. Telling the difference between different types of tomatoes can become difficult. So what I suggest doing, instead of relying on labels or your memory, is to actually get everything in place and then just take yourself on a little mini tour of your garden and tell yourself in that video what each variety is. So if you have a plant fail and you need to replace it, or anything happens to that plant, or you're just curious and you're like, I can't remember what that is, you can reference back to that video and it will tell you what you planted there. Okay, so let's take a look and see what we have. Okay, so we have a pear tomato. This is a bush beef. We have a San Marzano. We have a Beta Lux. This guy right here is a Brandywine, Black Vernissage, Berkeley Tie-Dye, a Speckled Roma, Crimson Cushion, and that one is a cherry. Okay, so we have a butternut squash, a flat borer squash, and a Cinderella pumpkin. Back here we have Space 80 and burpless cucumbers. We'll also plant seeds along there, just in case these don't handle the transplant shock. We'll also be planting some herbs along the front of that. Here we have a yellow squash, or traditional summer squash. This is a patty pan squash. This is a black zucchini squash. Here we have an eggplant. It's called a fairy tale variety, super cool. It's skinny and like a lighter purple with like stripes on it. And then we have a fajita hot bell pepper that I purchased from Rick's this weekend. Back there we have a ground cherry. Here is a Takara, which I believe is that's a shishito pepper. Then in these two holes, we're going to be planting these peppers, which are a super chili pepper. Very cool. Also got those from Rick's. Another eggplant. And then here we have a serrano pepper. Again, that's from Rick's. And then a poblano pepper started from seed. This is also a poblano pepper. And this is a mystery pepper. I'm pretty sure it's a poblano, but it could be a chili pepper. And then one more ground cherry. Okay, so that's all the plants in place. We will see you when we're all done planting.